It was a calm Saturday morning when my phone buzzed with a message that made my heart skip a beat. Your Jeep is being towed. At first, I thought it was a prank. My Jeep wasn't just any car. It wasn't even mine in the traditional sense. It was a fully equipped undercover police task force vehicle, temporarily parked at my place while we were in the middle of a multi-state investigation. And it wasn't just a Jeep, it held sensitive equipment that was worth more than most homes in the neighborhood. I bolted upright, still in disbelief, and rushed to my front window. That's when I saw her, the infamous HOA president everyone in our neighborhood whispered about behind closed doors. Her name was Karen, and she was clutching bolt cutters in her manicured hands like a badge of honor. Karen had always been a thorn in everyone's side. From writing tickets for lawns that were an inch too long to threatening fines for leaving holiday lights up past New Year's, she lived for power. But that morning, she had crossed a line no one ever imagined she would dare. She had cut through the lock on the secured chain that held my Jeep in place, proudly declaring it an eyesore, and demanding it be removed from the neighborhood immediately. She didn't ask, didn't warn, she just acted, because in her mind, rules were meant to bend to her will. I sprinted outside, adrenaline coursing through my veins. What do you think you're doing? I shouted. Karen didn't flinch. She turned to me with that smug smile that had terrorized so many neighbors. Your Jeep violates HOA parking policy. It's been sitting here too long. I had no choice. Her voice was dripping with self-righteousness, as though she were a hero saving the neighborhood. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that her little power trip had just endangered an active police operation. Behind my calm but shaking exterior, I was panicking. Inside that Jeep were encrypted radios, undercover surveillance tools, and files that could not, under any circumstances, fall into the wrong hands. I tried to explain as calmly as I could. Karen, you don't understand. That vehicle is, but before I could finish, she cut me off with a laugh. I don't care if it belongs to the president. HOA rules are HOA rules. She waved the tow truck driver on like she was leading a parade. By then, I had no choice. I pulled out my phone and made the call I dreaded. This is Officer Daniels, I said into the line. We have a situation. Task force vehicle compromised. Within minutes, the calm suburban street transformed into something out of a crime show. Black SUVs rolled up, lights flashing silently, men and women in tactical gear spilling out like a flood. Neighbors peered through blinds and cracked doors, whispering in shock. Karen's confident grin melted into confusion, then terror, as a federal agent approached her. Ma'am, step away from the vehicle. What's going on? She stammered, her voice suddenly small. The lead agent didn't mince words. You just tampered with federal property. This vehicle is part of an ongoing law enforcement operation. You could have jeopardized lives. The silence that fell over the cul-de-sac was deafening. Karen's face drained of color as she realized this wasn't about a parking violation anymore. This was about the law, the real law, not the petty kind she clung to. Neighbors began to step out of their homes, emboldened by the sight of Karen finally being held accountable. One elderly couple muttered, "About time someone stopped her." Another neighbor, a young mom she had fined for letting her kids' bikes sit on the driveway, clutched her child closer, watching Karen's downfall unfold like poetic justice. The tow truck driver, who had just been following orders, raised his hands nervously. I didn't know," he said. Agents quickly dismissed him, but Karen wasn't so lucky. She tried to protest, her voice cracking, "I was just doing my job as HOA president." But the agent leaned in and said firmly, "Your job doesn't give you the right to break the law." As they questioned her, I stood back, the weight of the moment hitting me. This wasn't just about a Jeep or an HOA feud. It was about power, control, and how easily someone could abuse both under the guise of rules. Karen had believed she was untouchable, that her clipboard and title gave her authority over everyone's lives. But in that moment, stripped of her arrogance, she looked small, powerless, and utterly alone. Later that evening, after the chaos had cleared and the Jeep was safely secured, I sat on my porch, watching the sunset bleed across the sky. Neighbors came by one, some to thank me, others just to share in the surreal relief of the day. "You know," one man said, "we've all been afraid of her for years. But today showed us that she's not above the law." None of us are. His words stuck with me. Karen wasn't hauled off in cuffs that day, but she was served with a hefty list of charges: tampering with federal property, destruction of private security measures, and obstruction of law enforcement. The HOA board quickly called an emergency meeting, and within a week, she was removed as president. The same neighbors who once felt powerless under her rule now had their voices back. There was laughter in the air again, kids riding bikes without fear of fines, families putting out decorations without worry. As for me, I learned something that went deeper than the conflict itself. Justice isn't always about flashing badges or dramatic takedowns. Sometimes it's about standing firm when someone tries to bulldoze you with false authority. Sometimes it's about showing a community that fear doesn't have to rule them. That Jeep wasn't just a vehicle, it became a symbol of accountability. And while Karen's name became a cautionary tale in our neighborhood, it also left us with a reminder: no matter how loud or powerful someone may seem, truth and justice will always be louder in the end.